Ahoy, mateys! I bid you welcome to me channel, where everything your ears are about to hear and your eyes are about to see has been done in one take. I be your host, the One Take Man. On the day this video gets released, the powers that be have deemed this to be the International Talk Like a Pirate Day, and I thought I would use this opportunity to reminisce upon one of my favorite video games of all time, as well as one of the best pirate video games of all time, namely Sid Meier's Pirates. And I will stop doing that voice now because I'm pretty sure that the longer I do it, the worse it'll be. To be more specific, the game I'll be talking about throughout this video is the 2004 remake, not the 1987 original. I'm pretty sure there are still a lot of active internet users who have fond memories of the 1987 original, but I have no memories of it, at all of it, so I'm not going to talk about it except mention that it also happened. Also, when you consider the technical limitations that the 1987 game would have faced, well, I think it's safe to say that it is somewhat harder to base to remake an almost 40-year-old game than it is to remake an almost 20-year-old game. So for that reason, I'm going to stick to talking about the 04 version. Before I talk about all of the things I would want to, I would want to change about within a future remake, I first want to talk about what I want to port, over from the 04 version. First of all, the first thing I want to bring over is the navigation, i.e., the thing that most players will spend most of their time doing throughout this game. And as such, it has to be done, you can imagine, quite well. And it is done quite well within this game. It is very simple, it is therefore very easy to learn, and it also runs very smoothly, is very satisfying. So that is something that has been done quite well there, and I would want to bring over in any potential remake. Similarly, the second thing I want to talk about is the in-game market system. Again, the idea behind it is pretty simple. You bring in-game goods and exchange them for in-game money. It's not particularly complex, either in execution or in its interactivity or its execution, but it does run smoothly. It allows the players to keep track of their progress quite well, and it also would make a world of difference in this day and age of microtransactions, if I am to be perfectly honest. And that is all I'll say about that briefly, because I do not want to get into a back in my day rant, at least not right now. The third thing I want to talk about, not necessarily bring over, is the designs of the various locations within the game, which are again simple but elegant, and to some extent quite charming. And while they cannot be brought over like entirely as they were, it would perhaps make sense to use them as a basis for the remake's redesigns of all of these locations. And now that I've done the simple part, it's time I dove into the more complex aspect of the game, namely what it is that not of the game, of the video, namely what it is that I would want to see changed. And the first among the changes I would want to see implemented revolves around around the sea, around the actual surface where you will navigate. I have praised the navigation, however, the area where you navigate is very unremarkable, undynamic. And really, the only thing that doesn't make navigation boring within this game is the fact that it is as as smooth and as inviting as it is. While the game does have a wind mechanic and there are occasional storms passing by, these storms do not really leave uh, too much of an impact on gameplay, and they do not uh, they do not necessarily they do not bring any kind of uh, significant change in the dynamics of navigation within the game. Even though IRL, if you think about it, they really should, because it is a big deal in the time when the game is set. It was a big deal to travel to the new world, and also when you consider the location of the game, so where exactly the game is set, and you remember that that region is almost constantly beset by storms. Well, then you really need to bring out a little bit more of that. You only need to bring more dynamism into the actual setting itself. So that is something I want to see implemented, like more attention given to the actual currents and weather systems within the within the game. Something that allows a greater deal of immersion within it. Uh, one possible way this could be implemented is a storm navigation mini game, where if the player either has to or chooses to cross a storm, then said player will also have to prepare the ship in order to cross the storm. So reef the sails, batten down the hatches, the whole 90 yards. The second thing I want to address, and one that is perhaps a little bit more uh, interesting for gamers in general, not just the pedantic history nerds like myself, is skill management. When it comes to creating your character, you are given a choice between several skills, and I do admit I haven't really tried out all of the skills. But however, I imagine most of the people who have played this game will mostly gravitate towards the default option, which is a skill in fencing. And I have to say that with a skill in fencing, there really doesn't seem to be any noticeable drawback with the within the other potential skill sets. So you can really just coast on that. If that is the case with the other skills as well, namely where you have depth within that particular topic and can just kind of coast when it comes to everything else. Well, I don't really know. I don't really know what to say about that, other than I think it would make for a less interesting game, especially in this day and age when it comes to when mechanical complexity and customization are a little bit more intriguing for average gamers. What I would suggest instead is a set of skill trees, a skill forest, if you will. The player character would start out right at the root of each of these skill trees with a base level of capabilities within each of the potential fields, which would have a skill tree from gunnery to diplomacy, and and as they carry out all of these tasks, they will receive XP, which they can then use to unlock various new abilities or new options, depending on whatever field it is that they want to explore, or within which they have gained XP points. This will require a reworking of pretty much every single mechanical aspect of this game, but you know what? It's a remake. Where if someone is going to do it, then someone should really be committed to it. It's not just a fresh coat of paint. It really is, uh, you know, look up under the hood and swap out a bunch of things. Make it freshen it up for a new generation of gamers. It'll also add a little bit more dimension when it comes to boss encounters, for example, because as the game stands right now, there is actually very there is actually there isn't really much of a difference between boss encounters and regular encounters, aside from aside from a little bit more of aside from a few more cinematics, if I have to be perfectly honest. So giving giving both the player and the NPCs a few more options when it comes to how they can interact will make this game more engaging and more memorable. Therefore, and probably hopefully therefore more fun. The biggest issue that I would say requires fixing, however, is a little bit more subtle, and it's tied to the fact that this game is really more of an adventure game, a swashbuckling game, than it really is an action game. Namely, it has a very loose faction management system. It does get a little bit more difficult within higher difficulties, but still at the lowest difficulty you can attack the ships of a certain faction, and then almost immediately afterwards get a reward within that faction. And I would really want to rework that to some extent. Another problem, really, because this particular fast and loose way of playing with factions really denotes that you're not technically playing as a pirate. You're more or less playing as a privateer, someone who does stuff and then reaps rewards. And you could perhaps still be a privateer in the in the remake, but really that's just a particular subtype of the greater pirate umbrella. Like there could be more that you could do, and you definitely could not play this fast and loose with all these factions. If there is a faction management game mechanic within this new game, I would really want it to be a little bit more similar uh, to what it would have been historically, and really make the diplomatic and social aspect of this game a little bit more complex, where you really have to um, where you really have to use a lot of your efforts in order to you really have to exercise a little bit more effort in order to maintain your reputation with all of your factions. This could also be tied into maybe some skill trees for diplomacy, where you're able to, for example, use dialogue options, or use a variety of outfits in order to impress various factions. So action alone might not suffice. You'd also have to do a little bit more. That's something I'm considering. That would also require a serious reworking of the story that this game works on, but that is not something I haven't considered. I will talk about that at a later time, however. For now, I would like to say thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed this video, well then please leave a like, maybe even share this video wherever you think other people will like it as well. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to my remake suggestions, or to either the 87 or the 04 edition of Pirates, well, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. Ideally also ring the bell, or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk about book-related and literature topics, a link to which you will find in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out should you choose to. Alternatively, you can support me on Patreon, where you will receive various perks, such as early access to videos and scripts, both for this channel and the aforementioned main one. I bid ye farewell now, mateys, and until the tides deem it such that they bring us together again, I have been the one-take man.